Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for checking the video out today. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover today. We're talking about the PS5 potentially getting a native Spotify app. We're talking about Sony maybe getting ready to finally release some special edition PS5 bundles. We're also talking about how apparently God of War is such a force to be reckoned with this holiday season that it has actually forced some developers to move their games out of the way. And we're talking about the upcoming Ghost of Tsushima movie. So before we dive into these topics, do me a favor and be sure to leave the video a like if you end up finding it informative or you enjoy it. Really helps the videos a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and while you're at it, consider hitting that join button and becoming a channel member to gain access to some exclusive perks. I did add a new tier, so you might want to check that out. But diving into the first topic here, talking about the native Spotify app. Reading from PlayStation Universe, they say the PlayStation Game Size Twitter account has uncovered evidence that a native PS5 Spotify app is on the way, just one day after it was reported that a native PS5 Disney Plus app is also in the pipeline. Right now, the Spotify app is available via the console's PS4 backwards compatibility, so a native version of the app would be handy for PS5 owners. And yeah, that's the thing. When you talk about Spotify on PS5, you would think that there's a native app, but not yet. And Spotify, I would assume, is used by quite a few PS5 owners. I mean, I use it all the time, so it would definitely be nice to have a native app. But we're moving right to the next topic, which talks about some special edition PS5 bundles and how they may be on the way. Reading from PlayStation Lifestyle, a new PlayStation job ad has fans hoping to finally see some special edition PS5 bundles. Other than the PS5's general lack of availability, one major thing missing in this generation is special edition consoles that fans became accustomed to during the PS4 era. This November marks the PS5's second anniversary, and said job listing has fans crossing their fingers and toes for something other than the plain bundles with a game thrown inside the box, a la Horizon Forbidden West and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart bundles. The job ad, spotted by the folks over at Tech for Gamers, seeks a packaging planner for PlayStation Global Operations. Published 3 days ago, the vacancy is specifically for someone who will be coordinating packaging projects including standard software, hardware, special editions, collector's editions, and any hardware bundles on a global scale. The ad further talks about reviewing, coordinating, and printing artwork that appears on special packaging and working with complex SKU setups in adherence with different countries' laws. So we should keep expectations in check. This is a pretty generic job advertisement that doesn't solely pertain to hardware bundles. It talks about special editions of software as well, which we're likely to see plenty of when it comes to Sony's first-party games. But still, when you see something like this and you consider that Sony went pretty crazy with special and limited edition PS4 bundles last generation, they have yet to do that. I feel like the reason for this is kind of obvious. It's because of the supply issue. I just feel like Sony is not willing to do something like that, knowing that it's already incredibly hard for people to just get a regular PS5, or at least it has been up until this point, right? And offering a limited edition is just, it's going to make it even more complicated. It's going to just make it seem even worse. And yeah, I just feel like maybe Sony was waiting until the supply issue was no longer a thing, and then by that point, they'll start working on some special edition consoles. Now, I do want to say before moving on to the next topic, I really do not know why Sony has not done this for the plates of the PS5. I mean, they offer different covers, right? Different colors that you can put on your PS5, but they have yet to do any type of like limited edition design or cover. Again, I just feel like doing that for big game releases like Horizon and God of War, I think that they would sell really well and people would really like that. But as of right now, they haven't done it. So yeah, let me know what you think about this. Moving on to the next topic, we're covering God of War and how apparently this game is so big and so intimidating that it has reportedly forced some devs to move their games out of the way and make way for this juggernaut title. So reading from a PlayStation Lifestyle again, they say November's God of War Ragnarok launch has reportedly caused some developers to move their games out of the behemoth's way. That's according to Kinda Funny's Tim Geddes, who said in a recent episode of Kinda Funny Games Daily that he had business calls where some people have admitted to moving out of God of War Ragnarok's way and giving it space to avoid their games getting eclipsed by Santa Monica Studios' highly anticipated game. God of War Ragnarok is arguably the biggest first-party launch of the year. Sony did release Horizon Forbidden West back in February, but being part of a long-running and beloved franchise, Ragnarok is understandably a bigger deal. Quote, "I think we're getting to this interesting point of games being scared of God of War Ragnarok. I've had business calls in the back end with people that have said things to me that I was shocked by. Just like, we're pulling out of this. We're backing off of this. We're just giving God of War its space," end quote. So that's exactly what Tim Geddes said. And I thought this was interesting and certainly worth highlighting because it confirms, I think, what a lot of us were already thinking, right? And that is that, yeah, any game that's going to launch right alongside God of War Ragnarok is likely to have a hard time. I mean, I can't help but think of Forspoken, as it was mentioned, how, you know, they had to strategically delay it or move the date. And that's kind of how they phrased it. And it was pretty clear that because it's a new IP and it's going to need its own room to breathe, and it just wouldn't be a good idea to launch that close to Ragnarok. But I also can't help but think of Ubisoft's upcoming Skull and Bones. They decided to release their game literally one day before God of War Ragnarok. And considering there doesn't seem to be much fanfare around it as is, it's a full-price title, good luck. They're going to need it in order to go up against God of War. But yeah, you know, it's going to be really exciting as we approach November to just kind of start to get that feeling, right? The feeling of really building up to the launch of this game. And I know that some people maybe feel a little bit frustrated to a certain degree because they feel like Sony and Santa Monica have been a little too quiet. But I have a feeling once they're ready to kind of, you know, pull the cover off and show everything, well, not everything, but you know what I mean, just really kind of get the game out in front of people's faces, I think it's going to be impossible to avoid to a certain degree. So let me know if you're surprised to hear that developers are apparently making way for God of War Ragnarok. Honestly, I have to say I'm not surprised. But moving on to the next topic, we have some what I think is really good news for the upcoming Ghost of Tsushima movie. Being reported by VGC, it says the director of the upcoming Ghost of Tsushima movie has revealed his intention to film the picture entirely in Japanese, with a complete cast of Japanese actors. Speaking to Collider, Chad Stahelski, who is currently behind John Wick Chapter 4, claimed he had the full support of Sony to make the Tsushima movie as authentic as possible, and shared his own personal love of Japanese culture. "I think if we did this right, it would be visually stunning. It's character-driven, it's got an opportunity for great action, great looks, and honestly, we'd try to do it all in character," he said. Meaning it's a Japanese thing about the Mongols invading Tsushima Island, a complete Japanese cast in Japanese. Sony is so on board with backing us on that. So to me, this actually sounds like the best possible direction for a Ghost of Tsushima movie. I feel like when it comes to these big PlayStation titles, these narrative-driven titles with complex stories and complex characters, they mean a lot to us, right? The people who are playing these games on PlayStation, and we always get a little bit nervous when we hear like, oh, there's going to be a movie made or there's going to be a TV series made. I mean, a lot of things can go wrong, but to hear something like this for Ghost of Tsushima, it gives me a ton of confidence that they're going to do everything they can to make this as authentic as they can, to really just kind of hone in on that, I guess you could say, what really makes Ghost of Tsushima special, right? Like that tone, that atmosphere, and the culture that surrounds it. So yeah, I'm really happy to hear this, and it seems like a lot of other people are really happy to hear this as well, and it's really cool that Sony is completely on board with this. So, you know, I have to say, my excitement for this movie kind of went up quite a bit after hearing this, so I'll be sure to update you guys. Let me know your thoughts on that. Next up, we have a bit of an update when it comes to the shovelware issue that the PlayStation Store is currently suffering from. Reading from PlayStation Lifestyle, over the last week or two, an increasing amount of PlayStation Store users have begun voicing their concerns about an influx of cheap shovelware with easy trophies often gracing the new releases section. Almost all of these games have the same premise: press X to unlock trophies and obtain a platinum within minutes. From the jumping brownie to the jumping fries, we've seen it all. Now it looks like Sony has taken note of the hue and cry, and although the games are still listed for sale, the company has found a bit of a workaround. As noted by NeoGAF users via Exputer, Sony seems to have updated how the PS Store sorts new games by ensuring that the relevant section highlights proper games as opposed to jumping games, as they're rightfully called. The shovelware still exists, but it's been buried a little bit further down, so when you do open the PS Store app or the console storefront, you're not slapped in the face with the easy trophy games when browsing releases. The PS Store has now been reverted back to best-selling games as the default sorting. And so it says here, how come Sony allows jumping games on the PS Store, you ask? Well, it seems that there is ample demand for it. One good look at sites like PSN Profiles indicates that even with the trophy hunting community, there are people who are simply looking to inflate their trophy count as opposed to taking on the challenge of unlocking difficult platinums. And that's the thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with these games necessarily existing or people wanting to play them just to get a platinum, right? Like, that's up to each person to decide. But I will say that I think this is the right move by Sony. I don't think it's a good look to kind of have these games like front and center on the PlayStation Store when people are looking at the new release section. I don't think it makes sense. And I don't think that that's what most people want. And I think that this is the best in between, because I know that there are people who say, like, look, these games should be allowed to be on here. There are people who want to play them and they should be allowed to do so. I completely agree. But I do also think that Sony does have to keep in mind the overall appearance of the PlayStation Store and, most importantly, what they're kind of giving a spotlight to. And I think that stuff like this should absolutely take a back seat, because I'm going to be real, there are higher quality games that deserve more attention. And so I'm happy to see this, and I think it's the perfect middle ground, because again, I have seen that there are some people where, you know, I personally see nothing in these games, but there are people who do enjoy them and they do want to play them to earn those platinums. But moving to the next topic, we're talking about how Sony may end up requiring a PlayStation Network account in order to play some of their games or all of their games on PC. They released a new FAQ over on their website because they have a dedicated section specifically for their games that are available on PC. And in one section, it says that you do not currently need a PlayStation Network account to enjoy PlayStation Studios games on PC. And people are paying close attention to the way this is worded, because it says you currently do not need it. That does imply that at some point you will need it. And this actually lines up with, I believe, previous job listings we've seen where it seems like Sony is looking to really kind of further integrate the PlayStation Network, the PlayStation Store, just certain aspects of the entire PlayStation platform into PC in a more significant way. So, you know, this just kind of adds to that. But as of right now, you know, nothing official has been announced. If they do something official, I'll be sure to keep you guys updated. Moving to the final topic of the video, we have what I think is ultimately good news, because we finally have a release date for Hogwarts Legacy, but some people may say it is bad news, but maybe not all that surprising because it was delayed. Over on Twitter, the official Hogwarts Legacy account says Hogwarts Legacy will launch on February 10th, 2023 for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. The Nintendo Switch launch date will be revealed soon. The team is excited for you to play, but we need a little more time to deliver the best possible game experience. So I don't think too many people are that surprised by this. As we talked about, it's getting pretty late in the year, and it was looking less and less likely that Hogwarts Legacy was going to land in 2022. Some people are feeling a little bit nervous about this, though, because 2023 is starting to look absolutely wild when it comes to the amount of games that are set to release, assuming that none of those games get delayed further. But, you know, still, we're looking at a pretty packed end of the year, I'd say, and it seems like once it starts, it's just going to go right into 2023, and it's, you know, it seems like it's not going to slow down. So we'll see, you know, if anything else changes. Hopefully they can stick to this date. I'm assuming they will, because if they weren't confident, they probably wouldn't have announced it yet. So February 10th, 2023 for Hogwarts Legacy. That does it for this video, guys. Again, leave it a like if you enjoyed it or found it informative. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.